Weekly Notes, Week 2, English 0365, and welcome to this week's class. So first, I want to recount briefly what we did last week. Most of you were able to attend the orientation. Thank you so much for coming. I always see that students who come to the orientation do so much better in this course than students who try to do it on your own. I know some of you couldn't make it because you hadn't entered the course yet or you had something else going on. I know some of you have come to my office during the week. If you didn't make it and you didn't come to the orientation, I would suggest that you please come to my office sometimes during this coming week, as I always like to meet my students in person. If for any reason you are taking the course far away from this campus or you are somewhere else, please let me know immediately so I know that you are not near this campus and that we can then arrange to talk on the phone. You also introduced yourself in the discussion board. I loved reading your introductions. Some of you are from the same country, some of you know each other from before. I can just tell that you guys are making connections right away, and that makes the course so much more interesting. And then Townsend Press, that is the website where you will be doing the mastery tests. You have asked me how many mastery tests do I do? Well, the answer is all of the ones available. There are some practice tests, there are exercises. You can do those, but you don't have to. But the more mastery tests, the better that you will be at the skill that we're practicing that week. You will notice that sometimes the grades on those mastery tests are not that good, and that is because you need more practice. So make sure you do those and you turn them on time, as they are due every week. Before you continue with this, you may want to take a photo with your cell phone of this page, or maybe you can just take some notes, as this is the weekly organization. I told you this in the orientation, but I know that it's so easy to forget because we have so many things going on. So I think it's a good idea that you have in front of you the weekly organization, and this is how you're going to be able to keep track of everything. Of course, I hope that by now you also printed the syllabus, as the syllabus says everything that you need to do that week. Here I put almost everything except for Townsend Press. I don't remind you on Townsend Press on D2L because it's not something you have to turn in D2L. You turn it in directly in Townsend Press, and since you registered under my name, I will see your assignment and your grade. So the week starts on Monday, although I have opened all the assignments on Sunday morning at 8 a.m. I know I have many students who work and they want to use that Sunday to catch up and to start the week because you don't have a lot of time during the week. So, as I told you during the orientation, the first thing that I would like you to do is to listen to these notes, as this is going to get you going. And then start with the chapter for that particular week. One good place to start is the chapter PowerPoint, and I'm going to show you the chapter PowerPoint in a minute so you see where you find it. But before that, let's go on with the rest of the days, and then I'll come back to that. The chapter PowerPoint is going to help you go through the chapter, and it's going to help you answer your preview questions. Of course, you can just look at the chapter in the book if you don't want to use the PowerPoint, but I think the PowerPoint is a nice reinforcer of what's in the book. And then you answer the preview questions. The preview questions are going to help you get acquainted with the book. So for example, week 1, it's vocabulary in context, and of course the questions are related to that. You have Tuesday kind of to study the rest of the chapter, to do as many review exercises as you wish, to read the reading, which is always the review exercise number 4, and you get ready for answering the chapter reading, which is always due on Wednesday. This week, the chapter reading is called All Washed Up, and it's about a very important habit that we don't really think about too much. It's have we washed our hands, how much, how often, and so on. Some interesting information there. The questions are in the form of a quiz, so you just go, you click, and then you answer the questions that are on page 40 and 41. I have just written the number and then A, B, C, or D. And then I have added another question that you have to write in the form of a short essay. So that's about the reading. On Thursday, you have the Townsend Mastery Tests due. Those mastery tests are similar to the mastery tests that you find in the book. So you can do the ones in the book as practice, or you can just go directly to the Townsend Press and do them there. You only have one chance to do those, so make sure that you know what you're doing when you're doing the mastery tests. I hope that by now you have read the chapter for Immigrant Advantage, and on Friday you're ready to answer the questions for Immigrant Advantage. This week you're going to have to watch a short video, it's about 7 minutes long, about an interview with the author, and then you answer the questions which are going to help you to participate in the discussion board, which is always also due on Friday. And then by Saturday, you have to respond to at least 2 classmates. So you're going to have to go back and respond to your classmates. Of course, if you would like to respond to more than 2, you're more than welcome to do that, but that is the minimum. So I'm going to go back to to D2L, and I'm going to show you a couple of things about the PowerPoints. I'm also going to show you something about the discussion board. Okay, so I want to show you So we're here on week 2, and you can see that we have the weekly notes, points, we have annotating the text, and then we have assignments. So if you go here to the PowerPoints, you will see that there are 2 PowerPoints. There's one for mapping, and then the chapter 10 steps. This is the one that you are going to use as you are reviewing the chapter. The one about mapping gives you some information about how to map a text. The one that I'm interested that you look at this week is annotating a text, because I want you to start making annotations right away. Annotations are basically markings that you have. So when you open here annotating a text, it's going to give you some ideas of what is it that you annotate and how do you do it. You can make notes in the margin, you can circle, you can underline, you can highlight, and so on. So make sure that you read this very carefully. And then of course the assignments are the ones that you're going to do, and those are all found right here. So we have the first assignment is here, the preview questions, and then you have the assignment for all washed up, and then you have the discussion number 2, and there are the questions for the discussion, and then this is the questions that you have for the first chapter of Immigrant Advantage, which is embarking. So those are the assignments for the week. I want to go for a minute to the discussion week, so a discussion board, so I can show you what it looks like, because I noticed it has changed a little bit from last time. It's a little bit easier to use, and I want to encourage you to use it in a particular way. So let's go to the discussion week 2. I'm actually going to show you discussion week 1 since there's already participation. So the first posting is probably always going to be mine, because I'm going to tell you what to do. In this case, it was introductions. And then every time that you're going to respond to this, go ahead and do it with start a new thread, and then give it a title. You can give it a week 2 FISA, for example, or week 2, the title of the actual discussion. So start a new thread. Once you start a new thread, then you're going to have your own little space. Then we are going to go, so for example here I posted again with start a new thread, and I told you great introductions and so on. So to read it, you're just going to click here on the title, and that's going to allow you to reply. So reply to thread means that you are going to reply directly to my discussion, because if you start a new thread, then we don't know to what you replied. So if you're replying to a particular posting, reply to the thread, write it here, and then you are going to post. Before I was telling you to reply separate, but this time, because they have changed it and it's easier, I just think that it's going to be much easier if when you start, you reply, you do a new reply, but once you are there, then you reply directly to the person. Notice that it tells us how many replies it has and how many people have seen it. You probably won't have time to go see every single one, but at least see a few, as many as you can. Now, one notice, for example, here I have Zanat, and you say 2 replies. Well, make sure that if you have replies and you are Zanat, that you click on it, because sometimes people have asked you a question, and so you want to make sure that that you reply to that person, right? So reply to what it says, and then if you have something to say back to you, then you're going to again go and say reply, either reply here to Woolman or reply here to me. Okay, something else that's connected to the scavenger, connected to the discussion is the scavenger hunt. So on Monday, you are going to find a posting. I don't have it yet, but I'm going to put it in the form of a quiz. I'm going to put information about each student, but I'm not going to write the name of the student. So your job is going to see who wrote what. One thing, please use first names. You do not need to use last names. Only first names and the name that the person wants us to call him. So for example, Luis would like us to call him Steven. So when I am writing something about Luis, I'm going to write Steven, not Luis. So if you write Luis, you're going to get it wrong. Now, if you get it wrong, don't worry about it, because I am going to go and check every one of them manually, so I can correct it. So if you wrote Luis and you meant Steven, it's the same person, so of course you have it correct. So I'm going to check it. But just to do my job a little, make my job a little easier, make sure that you write first names only and nicknames. Okay, this is all that I have for you this week. When you are done listening to this presentation, please send me an email giving me a little bit of feedback. Tell me if you like the presentation, if you think that the weekly notes will be useful for you. Where do you send it? Send it to my email in D2L, and as soon as you finish watching this, please send me the email. I hope to have all the emails by Tuesday of this week, sorry. And just have an excellent week, and if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask me.